Hello Swansea Zine Fest. This is a video that I'm going to make about different kinds of zine bindings that I have seen in my collecting zines over the last decade or so. The reason I made this video is because since the pandemic begun, there has been a lot of online zine making videos, which has been great, but they have all been demonstrating the one standard binding that I think we're quite used to by now. You've got the A4 piece of paper with the slit in the middle. It's referred to as a 6 or 8 page zine. And they're very good. They're very easy to copy, very easy to produce lots of copies of. But I think we can do better than that. I really enjoy bookbinding. I really enjoy collecting zines that have got different kinds of binding within them. And I thought I'd show you a few different ideas of those today. So the first one I'm going to give you an example of, which is a very classic zine making technique, is called the Pamphleteas Stitch. Get that back in focus. So what it is you've got the needle coming through 3 different points within the paper and forming a bow or a knot on either the inside or the outside. So you've just got the 3 points of entry there and you just come through. The reason I like this is because we've got historical documentation of this stitch going back absolutely hundreds and hundreds of years to be used by people who are publishing their small ideas to get things printed in a cheap manner and stitch them together. So I really like doing that. The other classical method we've got is stapling, which you still see in quite a lot of places. I really like this one because I reckon that is the most number of pages that you could possibly fit staples through and still get them to go through. So I thought this was quite a good example of stapling. If we move on to some more unusual things, here's a little one-off zine that was made by a friend of mine in the post. And this one you can see is held together by a single safety pin. The theme of it is a punk group that we're both in, and I just really love the idea of holding stuff together with safety pins. I think we should do more of that. This is a great little zine. Lots of little pockets going on in it. Lots of little things hidden in it. Really delightful, but perhaps a little bit harder to produce. Might not be though. This one here, this has got star hole punches through 2 little sides here, and then it's just held together with a bit of yarn. And that kind of leads me on to more yarn-based binding. So I've got these guys here, just folded in half, just held together with a bit of yarn. And I just really like this method. It just reminds me of how I used to read zines when I was a kid. I love this example as well because it's held together with yarn, but it's also got this overlay of, unfortunately quite crinkled now, gossamer tracing paper, something like that. Also got the, there you go. Got a little staple on there as well. I just really enjoy getting into the more alternative bindings. Comb binding, a technique you might be used to from university dissertations. You tend to see it on the university printers options. I really enjoy this one. There's a lot of different size pages held together here, all kind of united by this comb binding. And they've gone for a bright green as well against the purple of the cover. I just like how that looks. I also really enjoy these sort of fancy covers that we've got. So we've got like an extra bit coming out here, and then we've got this colourful glittery card here from Easter Road Press. I love the way that small publishing means that we can do things with fancy card. Although I have seen some comments from the writer that the glittery card is a particularly expensive cost, I believe. I've got a handmade zine here from my friend, which I just wanted to show you the binding of. Just some really inventive stitching to hold that together in these little signatures. And I think just a couple of basic bookbinding skills can really show you how to hold stuff together in inventive ways. And I love that. That brings me on to these, which are Japanese stab binding. This was my attempt at making one that would be reproducible in a zine format quite easily. So this is a cut up piece of A4 cut specifically into these longer strips so that because you lose quite a lot of the page with this binding here. It does mean if you're reproducing it, you're going to have to do that stitching every time, and that might be difficult, but it also might be worth it for the overall effect. That's Japanese stab binding, I really like that. I haven't got many examples of office stationery with me today, but we've got the split pin here, which I really like. The idea of trying to read the narrative, but also it kind of curls around. There's also the old school tags that have got the two little bits of plastic and the string between them, but I couldn't find anybody that was binding with those in my archive, so I'd love to see some more of those. I've got some examples of perfect binding as well, so these are more sort of commercial options. So this is just a really classic perfect bind glue spine, and then this one, I'm just loving this extra bit of book binding ribbon on the side here. And then I just wanted to show you this one, The Secret Language of Queers. I just really enjoy the use of this extra long bit here to write out the whole of the hanky code. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. And just some final examples to show you here. This is from a bookbinding book. You take a tab out of the front and back cover and you thread them through the spine there, and then they're held together through these tabs. I think this would be quite easy to reproduce in quite a lot of volume, but it just really adds something intriguing. I always like to show this one off. This is Tiny Silly Thing by Cassian. It's just the smallest zine by far in my collection. Absolutely tiny, and I just like the idea that we can get information across but in small and interesting formats. Also got the idea of binding but with a sewing machine, so just running through any way you can, and it's gorgeous. It creates this really lovely effect, as long as your machine can take it. This is clearly done with an industrial machine because that is a lot of sheets of paper that's gone through. I always love anything that comes in an envelope. So this is a collection of puzzles actually, but it comes in this beautiful envelope. Just love things that can be self-contained like that. So that's a great binding idea as well. I wanted to show you these two. I really like because they have printed end papers for the inside cover as well. And I just think that really adds a sort of professional illustrator level to these zines, and they're just absolutely gorgeous. We've got the more homebound things as well. So this is a gallery pop-up book with an accordion spine. So the idea here is that it can sit as a gallery or it can be closed as a book, and it's just got these little inset pages with pictures of toads. This is just something I made when I was learning my bookbinding skills. And here's another one as well. This is taking inspiration from the Bristol art book event fair that they have at the Arnolfini every year. Just binding together loads of envelopes that once had tea in to create this little gorgeous book. There's two specific printable zines that you might find around if you're looking on the internet. So this one is a 16-page A4 printable. As you can see, I'm struggling to unfold it. It took me a lot of help to work out how to fold it in the first place, and I probably won't be able to close it back up on video. But once you get it there, it's a very cute, interesting concept. See, that's not gone back together right. But yeah, it prints from one page and then you work out how to fold it. And similarly, there's this accordion book, which concertina book, which reminds me of the concertinas that we used to do in school craft. Yeah, and then finally I just wanted to finish with this one. It is literally a page of A3 folded in half, and that's the whole zine. So there we go. I hope you've found some inspiration. Thank you very much.